Hey everybody, welcome to Crack Pack Tuesday on the Mana League. I'm John as always, and we've got ourselves another pack of Shadows over Innistrad here. We've got ourselves an Avacyn pack. Hopefully she's in it. That would be fantastic. But as always, we're going to open this pack up. We're going to see what's in it, and we're going to figure out what we would take. Pack one, pick one if this were a draft. Up first, we have ourselves an Inspiring Captain. Inspiring Captain is 3 and a white for a creature, human knight. It's a 3/3. When Inspiring Captain enters the battlefield, creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. Not totally sold on Inspiring Captain, just like I wasn't on Amperin Tactician, which I believe was 2 white. It was slightly harder to cast. It might even have been a 2/2. So this is fine, and of course, if you are in a really wide white weenie deck, it gets a whole lot better. But you need to be in a very specific deck for this to be super solid. I don't think it's ever first pickable, and I think it's often cuttable unless you are in one of those super wide, super aggressive decks. Next up, we have Catalog. Catalog's 2 and a blue for an instant. Draw 2 cards, then discard a card. It's fine, you know, it's divination, but you have to discard a card. If you can discard a Madness card, cool, you got there. You win the Shadows over Innistrad prize. But, you know, I think this is just okay card advantage. I think this is fine. I think it is probably includable as a one-of in many blue decks. Of course, the more you lean towards control or tempo, the more you really need cards in hand, the more you probably want to play that copy. I also wouldn't really fault anybody for cutting it. I would fault people, though, for first picking it. Next up, we have Survive the Night. Survive the Night is 2 and a white for an instant. Target creature gets +1/+0 and gains indestructible until end of turn. Investigate. Yeah, I've talked about this in the set review. I'm not super happy with it costing 3 mana. That's an awful lot. You all know how I like to have clues that are free, clues that are attached to a spell that is costed the way it would be if it didn't have Investigate. This is not in any way, shape, or form costed the way that it would if it didn't have Investigate. There's at least an extra mana tacked onto this, if not 2, thinking back to things like God's Willing. If you need a combat trick, if you need a 23rd card, I think you can play this. I don't think it would be wrong to cut it, in favor of just another basic land or anything like that. I think it is playable if you have to, but certainly not first pickable. Next up, we have Intrepid Provisioner. Intrepid Provisioner is 3 and a green for a creature human scout, 3/3. It has trample. When Intrepid Provisioner enters the battlefield, another target human you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Just like Inspiring Captain, I think this is okay. I think you need to be in a specific deck, namely green-white humans. It kind of works with vampires, though, or not vampires, sorry, werewolves, because if they're on their human side, they do count as a human. They do have human in their type line. It's a 3/3 trample, which I think also makes it better than the vanilla 3/3 that the captain is. Ultimately, I think this is probably slightly more playable, but I think you do still want to cut this in some decks, and certainly not first pickable. Next up, we have Hound of the Farbogs. Hound of the Farbogs is 4 and a black for a creature zombie hound, 5/3. It's got Delirium. If you have Delirium, it has Menace. Not sold on this, just like I wasn't last week, and I think maybe even in the first Crack-A-Pack I opened one of these. It's just not good. The 3 toughness is so weak. You're putting 5 mana into something that some 2-drops can kill, and many 3-drops can kill. Just total mana inequality here as far as the toughness goes. I don't want to play these things. I don't want to pick these things. I don't want to pick these things 10th pick, let alone first pick. Next up, we have Shard of Broken Glass. Shard of Broken Glass is 1 mana for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+0. Whenever equipped creature attacks, you may put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard. Equip 1. We had this last week as well. I think we've hit a print run. I'm not super sold on it. It's +1/+0, which is almost negligible. I would never play a combat trick that says +1/+0 unless there was a whole lot of other stuff attached to it. I wouldn't really play an equipment that says that either. Yeah, you could enable Delirium if you're lucky, and I mean literally lucky, because you have to top deck those cards that need to go into your graveyard. And I think there's just so many better ways to go about that. So Shard of Broken Glass, I don't think I'll ever really play it, and I certainly won't first pick it. Watcher in the Web. Watcher in the Web is 4 and a green for a creature spider. It's a 2/5. It's got reach. And Watcher in the Web can block an additional 7 creatures each combat. So it can block 8 creatures, 1 for each arm. Yeah, I like Watcher in the Web. I think it's a totally fine, totally serviceable green creature. I think most green decks will be very happy with one of them. Being a 5-drop, I don't think most green decks want anything more than just the first one, but I think it's totally fine. It's not remotely first pickable, but I think the first one at least is totally includable. Next up, we have Twins of Mauer Estate. Twins of Mauer Estate is 4 and a black for a creature vampire for a couple of creepy twins. They're a 3/5. They've got madness for 2 and a black. Yeah, this is fine. You know, this is one of those cards where I'm okay casting this for its full cost. It's just like a Kozilek's Translator or an Oracle of Dust or a vanilla version of them anyways. It's going to block almost everything in the set that's not some crazy rare bomb or a couple of uncommons. If you can madness it out, even better. The madness cost, of course, is quite a discount for this card, so I'm pretty happy with this. In a black-red madness vampire kind of deck, I would never first pick it. It should be a pretty darn late pick because few other people are going to want this. So happy with it, but not going to pick it. On to the uncommons, and we don't have a first pickable card yet in all of the commons. That's bad news. Tooth Collector. Tooth Collector is 2 and a black for a creature human rogue. It's a 3/2. When Tooth Collector enters the battlefield, target creature an opponent controls gets -1/-1 until end of turn. It has Delirium. If you have Delirium, then every turn at the beginning of, at the beginning of each opponent's turn, each opponent's upkeep, if you have Delirium, you can give a creature that they control -1/-1 until end of turn, which is nice. There are a lot of X1s, of course, but there's also, a lot of X2s that this won't do too much to other than maybe mess up combat math a little bit. Still, it's a fine card. It's a 3/2 for 3, which is okay, and the -1/-1 trigger the first time is going to be nice. But I think you're going to have to be a truly dedicated Delirium deck for this to be good. And I don't think that you ever take this card and say, aha, now I'm going to go into Delirium. I think you are into Delirium, and then you pick this guy up. I don't think it's first pickable. Without Delirium on it, it's not first pickable at all. In fact, it's more of a common card. With Delirium, I'm not super sold on it. You guys know I'm not super sold on Delirium anyways, so I don't think this is first pickable, but I think it is playable. Hey, there we go. We got there. We got some removal. Lightning Axe, a single red mana for an instant. As an additional cost to cast Lightning Axe, discard a card or pay 5 mana. Lightning Axe deals 5 damage to target creature at instant speed. I love Lightning Axe. Lightning Axe is fantastic. It enables madness, which is great for a single red mana, which is what I like. I like cheap, if not free, madness enablers. Secondly, it does 5 damage. It kills basically anything in the format that hasn't, gotten some sort of buff on it. If you can cast this early to get rid of an early bomb for, 1 red and discarding a land, or whatever, awesome. If you have to pay 5 in a red for this in the late game, it's still kind of worth it. It's ever so slightly expensive. You'd prefer to pay probably 5 mana for 5 damage, or at least in, the current age of Magic. That's overcosted for the history of Magic. But yeah, Lightning Axe is just absolutely amazing. I love this card. I would always first pick it unless there was just a significantly better rare in the pack. So we'll see if we get there, but Lightning Axe looks fantastic. Next up, we have Tenacity. Tenacity is 3 and a white for an instant. Creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain lifelink until end of turn. Untap those creatures. I played with Tenacity, and I like it quite a bit. I think it's fantastic in a wide kind of white weenie deck where you've got a ton of creatures, and then suddenly those creatures are not much bigger. They're 1 bigger, but they all have lifelink, and things really go south for your opponent. Yeah, I like Tenacity, but I do not think that you ever first pick it. I think you take this once you know you can play it, because, of course, there's going to be a number of decks that just can't play this, that just don't have the use for, giving all of your creatures +1/+1. Anything that's not dedicated on making a ton of creatures just isn't really going to want this. So I don't think you could ever first pick this card. I think it's a relatively high pick pack 2 and pack 3 for sure. But I think pack 1, this really should kind of filter towards the middle or end of the pack. Our rare is Rattle Chains. Rattle Chains is 1 and a blue for a creature spirit. It's a 2/1, it's got flash, it's got flying. When it enters the battlefield, target spirit gains hexproof until end of turn, which means at least itself, or potentially some other spirit. And then you can cast spirit spells as though they had flash. I love Rattle Chains. I love 2/1 flyers with flash for 2. I love 2/1 flyers for 2 anyways. The fact that I can give hexproof and save another spirit is great. The fact that all my other spirits become flash creatures themselves is fantastic. I love Rattle Chains. I would totally first pick this and look towards going blue-white spirits, which I think is a relatively solid deck. Flyers are going to be somewhat hard to handle in this format, I believe. So Rattle Chains, absolutely love it. Flip card, we've got ourselves a Gatstaff Arsonist. Gatstaff Arsonist is 4 and a red for a creature human werewolf at common. It's a 5/4. It's got the werewolf flip ability. And it flips into Gatstaff Ravagers. It's a 6/5 with Menace, and it flips back with the usual ability. Yeah, Gatstaff Arsonists are fine. 5 mana for a 5/4 is fine enough, and there's not a ton of 4-power creatures in the format, so this thing is not really going to get single blocked. It can get double blocked pretty easily. And then if it's a 6/5, it A, has to be double blocked, and B, is still going to get through for a ton of damage. I think Gatstaff Ravagers is totally fine. I don't think it's first pickable, and it's obviously not great in multiples unless you have a ton of mana available to you, you're ramping or something. But I think the first one is absolutely always playable and should be kind of a mid-pack pick, but not a first pick. Now, I awkwardly pulled the cards away when I flipped that over because there's a foil. There's a foil Foul Orchard. Land, Foul Orchard enters the battlefield tapped, add black or green to your mana pool. You're not going to ever first pick these. You're going to take these late in the pack when you're one of these colors, or somewhere in pack 2 or pack 3 when you know you're black-green, or you want to splash, but we're not going to first pick it. So, this was a terrible pack right up until the end. I think we're looking at Lightning Axe. I think we're looking at Rattle Chains. And we are looking at either Tooth Collector or Gatstaff Ravagers, but I don't think realistically we are looking at either of those. I think it's really between Lightning Axe or Rattle Chains. Removal or build around me / utility / good flyer spirit dude. This early in the format, just because I may not get a chance to play with it, I'd probably lean towards Rattle Chains. A little bit later in the format, if I find out that removal is truly key, I might lean towards Lightning Axe. But I think today, I'm going to lead towards spirits. I'm going to think about Rattle Chains. I'm going to think about blue-white spirits. I'm going to value spirits a little bit more highly, since I know that sometimes they will have hexproof and sometimes they will have flash. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with my first pick, Rattle Chains. Let me know what you would have taken in the comments down below. Would you have taken the Rattle Chains, the Lightning Axe, the Arsonist? Do you like Tooth Collector way more than I do? Let me know down below. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can find me on Twitter at TheManaLeak. That's L-E-E-K, like the vegetable, not the card. And you can also find me on Facebook at facebook.com/TheManaLeak. You've already found me here on YouTube. You've got that comment section down below. Please make use of that. As well, if you like my videos, click those little thumbs up icons. They let me know that you like the videos, and they make me feel good. They also help my videos rise up through the ranks. As well, if you haven't subscribed, you should. There's a button below each video. There's one in the outro of each video, and keeping subscribed will keep you up to date on all the latest videos as they are uploaded, and you want to see all of those videos. But as always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, I will see you all next time.